Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sierra Smith. I'm a seven-figure Etsy optimization specialist, business analyst, and consultant who has had the privilege of scaling 200 plus Etsy shops since 2019, with top clientele making 2.8 million plus in revenue on the platform. In this video, I'm very excited to be breaking down how this shop that you see here pictured on the screen was able to experience a 117.9% increase in revenue year over the last 30 days. This did bring the shop to $13,160 in revenue, again, over the last 30 days. So this is a pretty exciting increase for the shop's owner, so I'm excited to share this case study with you all as well. I am the founder of OptiShop Solutions, and my team and I work according to a data-driven, target customer-centric framework that we've coined the OptiShop framework. And all of our business links are down below, including additional case studies, testimonials, and how to get in contact with us, as well as standardized packages for holistic optimization of your own Etsy shop. And right here, we see a testimonial from this shop's owner sent via email. She was ecstatic speaking to me and my second in command. I owe it all to you both. So very excited to be again breaking down this case study. So naturally, this shop owner came to us because things were declining for her shop. Things were down, sales, clicks, orders, views, all of that was down. And she came to us with that as her problem. So how do we turn things around? Logged into her shop and I went into the overall traffic stats for her shop. You'll see that within your shop dashboard. It's pretty intuitive. And then we looked at where all her top viewed keywords for the last year. So at that point, I did compile all of those keywords on that page. Now, this is a different client shop, just to kind of walk you through that journey. In your shop dashboard, if you click on stats on the left-hand panel, you would open up this page here, and then you could toggle it to a custom time range. So we just did it for the last 365 days. You can do that as well, or you can do a custom time frame. I would at least do, I would say, a 90-day time frame so that you'll have a bit more data to work with. And then you scroll down and you can click into Etsy search, and then that's going to show you the keywords that customers use to find your listings within that time frame. So I didn't actually update the time frame just for, time saving purposes, but when you would scroll down, that's where you see the search terms. We see 45 different pages here. The name it, we're looking for keywords that actually have significant traffic. So if you have a larger time frame, of course, you'll also see more visits. So you can kind of choose the cutoff where you want the cutoff to be. I would just say again, a significant amount of views. Those are or visits in this case. Those are the keywords that you'd want to hone in on. And of course, I'll keep it ordered by this visits descending. So here we can see that I had pulled a lot of that keyword data and I just compiled it into a spreadsheet so that I could access this data really seamlessly later. As you could see, it wasn't super intuitive to pull it straight from that page right there. You have to click into each tab and it's showing you 5 keywords at once. So this makes it a lot easier to actually apply these, essentially integrate these keywords into your SEO. So we had it visits descending, and we saw, of course, there were certain keywords that bringing in significantly more visits than other keywords, but I did want a very diversified mix of keywords because of how Etsy SEO works. You do want a diversified mix of keywords that you're giving Etsy more to work with in terms of the SEO and what keywords they're showing your listings for. They break this down a little bit more within their Etsy seller handbook, but that is pretty much something you want to keep in mind. So I did want to integrate a pretty nice range of keywords into here. So scrolling down, you'll see that there's a lot of keywords here, and this was kind of just, unfortunately, it's just a manual pulling process, but I do strongly advise it. If you were fortunate enough to have a plethora of internal data within your Etsy shop, that's what you want to prioritize. There's no third-party tool out there that's going to give you more high-value insights than your shop's own internal data. These keywords, you 100% know that this is what customers are searching for. This is really, really high value. And then in this case, the shop, it has a unique product mix, but they do have a pretty diversified product mix. So I did want to make sure that we were also able to tackle a nice range of products within these keywords. So I didn't want to stop it too high. We wanted, we saw at the beginning, we had shell mirror kind of showing up pretty high, but going down and more down, we start seeing more opportunities like coin purse and seashell art. So we just want to make sure that we have a nice mix of keywords here so that when we do want to go in and redo the SEO for these listings, we have keywords that are actually going to apply to each listing. So that was kind of how we just got started there. I color coded it, and that was super high value. This was kind of like the foundation of the SEO revamp. Now, if you don't have internal data, then your next best bet is going to be using a mix of Etsy search suggestions, erank.com, and everbee.io. That's going to give you a lot of keyword data to work with as well. Etsy search suggestions, this is what it sounds like. You just start typing in a keyword into Etsy search and you see how Etsy elongates that keyword. And again, that's giving you real-time data. You know for sure customers are searching those keywords because if Etsy is suggesting it, customers are clicking into it. So that's really, really high value in itself. And then E-rank.com and EverBee.io are third-party Etsy kind of research tools. They're more so estimates than, accurate like your shop's internal data, but they're super, super helpful. And they're really, really valuable in pinpointing market gaps. So underserved spaces in the market with high search volume and low competition. We do see our own internal stats don't actually provide us with that information. So oftentimes I actually will end up also researching some of the highest visited keywords that we do pull from internal stats. I'll also go into erank.com and I'll go into EverBee and I'll type in that keyword. Both tools are super easy to understand. You just type the keyword in at the very top of the tool and you can see what other keywords Etsy is showing when you search that keyword. You can also see the competition numbers, you can see the search volume numbers, and on eRank you can see a few more stats like click-through rate, but that's pretty much all you're going to be able to use if you don't have internal data to work with in your own shop. All of it's really high value, and if you really want to supercharge the strategy, again, I would use all of them together. Like if you have internal data, I would still also use EverBee and eRank. Links are down below. I'm not sponsored by them, but I do use them for every single project that I work on. So we started on this data-driven foundation so that when we go into the competitor and market analysis, we're actually able to start with the keywords that we know, again, 100% customers are searching to find our listings. No point to look over competitors if you're not sure that customers are actually seeing those competitors. So once we pull those keywords, I go into an Etsy incognito window. I will search that exact same keyword, and then I will see what customers are seeing when they run that search. And that takes away all past search behavior, engagement behavior, because I'm in an incognito window. Etsy does not factor in any of my past behavior, and then I'm just seeing just the pure, clean results that essentially an Etsy guest would be seeing as well, or someone who has never interacted with product mix. So going up, a lot of her products did center around coral just as a whole. She had some really high value shell ring boxes and then shell mirrors. So of course I did do a competitor analysis on those keywords. And again, it's pretty simple when you just run that search like that in Etsy. Now you can supercharge the strategy, and I'm going to show you that right quick. Because when you search a keyword here in Etsy, like we see, you can click into show filters and then you'll be able to filter it by star seller. And then it's kind of a little bit niche, but you have to go into the URL. I'll just show you that right quick. And you would essentially change it from star to best. And then it's going to show you the best sellers. So this is a pretty nice little competitor analysis hack. So I just typed back on star, put in best, and that's how you'll see the best sellers for a keyword. And this is not something that Etsy lets us do manually, so you do have to do it in the URL like that, but then you just have a page of best sellers, and that's super, super high value. This is best sellers, and it's also the popular nows. So it's just a nice mix of listings that are performing really, really well. Honestly, these are the only competitors that we actually want to analyze, are the competitors that actually have considerable sales volume, and ideally sales volume at this exact moment. So what I do at that point is I typically will do Command A or Control A on my keyboard to select the entire contents of the page, and then I will put it into ChatGPT Pro. I do have the Pro plan. It's better, in my humble opinion, and then I will ask it to please give me actionable insights from these best-selling competitors. Of course, tweak it a bit according to your own market, and you can tweak it as you want, the prompt in general, but you want it to give you back an actionable competitor analysis. And I did tell it to, I tried to get it to hone it on search-facing features. So this is kind of like the advertising perspective for those listings. So the listing cover photo, the beginning of the title, the entry-level price point, and then any other things that you're able to see from search on those listings. So we were seeing that in some cases it'll be like free shipping. Etsy kind of will test different things at times. So I would just say to kind of keep an eye on what the search facing perspective looks like. Sometimes you'll be able to see kind of like different color swatches of the different variations, but all of that is part of the search facing perspective. So I do typically recommend, I'll also takes little snapshots of the bestsellers, and I'll also upload that into ChatGPT. So within the same exact prompt, I'm not only just giving it all like the written data that it can use, but I'm also giving it the actual visuals of those search-facing perspectives. So the listings as a whole. And then because I do have EverBee installed, it's a Chrome extension, like I had mentioned, earlier is really, really helpful because it'll also give us estimates on monthly sales. It'll give us estimates on conversion rate, listing age, and that's, that's super duper helpful. And when you copy the entire contents of the page, EverBee's data is also included in there as well. So we're also giving ChatGPT those numbers to work with, even though again it is estimates. It's better than if you didn't have those numbers to work with. So I am a huge fan of EverBee also for that reason. So when I did ask ChatGPT to give me that competitor analysis and keep it actionable, it told me that sellers aggressively load titles with highly searchable crossover terms, blend of product type, material, occasion, audience. It even kind of broke down like the title string that it was seeing: material, form, use case, gift audience, decor niche, and then coastal/beach trigger. And I did highlight the points that I found to be the most unique. It said giftability as a core search hook. This is not a surprise in Etsy. I did just want to note we see keywords like bridesmaid gift, wedding favors, bachelorette, housewarming, beach lover gift are heavily present. Actionable. Always include gift-facing terms and titles tags, even for decor or supply items. Now, this next point was even more unique and high value. It mentioned bulk, quantity, and personalization options. Many listings offer choose your size / pick your quantity / custom set / select style, which expands search visibility, of course, across multiple SKUs. It targets a wider range of personal shopping behaviors and just shopping preferences and aesthetic preferences. That's always the best practice if you have multiple options. Of course, offer quite a few of them within the same listing. There's so much more that I could say to go into that, but typically, yeah, you do want to have multiple variations within a listing. But in this case, we saw that these customers, they cared about that from search, especially if that was something that was communicated from search that helped a listing. But a lot of those competitors were not communicating from search, to be honest with you, but a lot of them were offering that as an option where customers could choose their size, pick their quantity, custom set, select style, and customers care about that. They come to Etsy for unique items and gifting experiences that they cannot find anywhere else. So that was a really important point to mention. And that was one of the first points I did go ahead and just communicate to my client, because that was something that was like a low-hanging fruit. She could immediately integrate that into the search facing perspective of her listings because she was offering the same thing. It just wasn't clear from search. So choose your size. We could put that into like the beginning of the title, and we also put it on some of the different cover photos and just kind of tested what led to the highest click-through rate and conversion rate. Next point, this was not surprising. This is generally a best practice with with Etsy SEO, but they recommended using high intent long tail phrases, not just one word tags. So they mentioned some full search phrases like real seashells for crafts, beach wedding decor, oyster shell jewelry dish. This is a best practice with Etsy SEO, is to use those high intent long tail keywords. So of course that was a immediate area for impact for her shop as well. This next point was also super high value. I highlighted it: material callouts equal search visibility. And these insights are so just astounding to me, because these are things that you typically, you would not be able to pull out these insights just from a real quick browse. So it really is helpful when you're able to use AI to do it. It can do it in less than basically 10 seconds in many cases. They can pull out these insights for you. And it's pretty amazing, because I wouldn't have maybe thought to look at, what's at the beginning or what are they calling out in each title. So we see in this case, they were mentioning real, genuine, natural, handmade, mother of pearl, soy wax, Tahitian pearl, authentic. So customers are searching for authentic materials. Actionable was to push material quality up front in the keyword architecture. So I just say to front load the title with that, because again, only the beginning of the title is part of the search facing perspective. So as it made sense, we did integrate, real or authentic or natural right there at the beginning of the title. And then where it made sense as well, we mentioned things like 100% real, and then whatever that product is on that cover photo. So that again was just reinforcing the authentic nature of that product. And customers really, really cared about that. Browsing through these next points, customers also care that the products are functional plus decorative dual positioning. So we wanted to include language in the text copy or the listing copy that would capture multiple markets. Customers, they cared about more so coastal and ocean lifestyle adjectives. Event, holiday, and seasonal keyword integrations are really, really popular. Photography styles that reinforced search position, so bright, beachy, highly aesthetic flat lays was kind of just a non-negotiable. Their use of seashells staged with gift boxes, coastal backdrops, soft natural light. This is not at all shocking, but these were kind of like the bare minimums. You can't do this. You can't really expect to have success in this market. And then value stacking through bundles and upsells was just a really good opportunity for this shop to upsell customers and make a lot more money from the customers that are coming to the shop because it is such a niche product mix. So just having, top sellers that are structured as a mix of maybe 50 shells or bulk bags of assorted shells, just really making it easy for customers to increase their cart size. Now, I also did end up doing a SWOT analysis on this shop. So that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that allowed us to kind of assess this shop relative to the market and its top competitors. So, of course, you can use that primary bestseller competitors or listings page that we had copied. But you can also go into some of those shops that are showing up there that have the bestsellers, and you can copy the entire content of their pages as well. I also do like EverBee again for the reason of if you do click on a shop, like you see us on a shop front here, the Chrome extension enables this analyze shop button to show up. And then we can click on that, and then we'll be able to see all of the listings in that shop, and it automatically will order it by revenue descending. So we have all of the shop's top sellers right here in this one place, and then I'll export that data as well. And you can, of course, also feed that into ChatGPT. So this is higher value than you just pasting the shop front in general, because the shop front is not going to be sorted by bestsellers, and not all the listings here may be bestsellers. Your next best bet could be to just sort it by most recent instead of sorting it by relevant. If you don't want to get EverBee, then at this point you'll at least have the most recent listings, and this can give you a good feel for which listings have most recently sold. Only other caveat is to also show you which listings were most recently listed, but you can also kind of get a good idea of what the most popular listings are if you scroll down and you start looking over the customer reviews. So kind of it's a little bit more work if you really want to make sure you're only focusing on bestsellers, but these shops as a whole are doing pretty well. So there's still a lot to learn from basically everything that these shops are doing. I just like to I like to hone in and focus in on those best sellers if possible. Now, the SWOT will give you is basically giving you your bare minimums. It's basically telling you that, in my the way I look at it is, if you can't do these things, you're probably not going to be able to enter this market profitably. So I like to have this as like a baseline for whatever product you're offering, presentation, photography, text copy, storytelling. These are kind of like your bare minimums. So if you know that these are your competitors' strengths, these are what you also need to be doing. If you know your weaknesses, you need to be kind of doing what you can to mitigate your weaknesses. Like if customers or competitors are offering more personalization options, more customization options, better customer service, you need to be closing those gaps. And then it'll also pull out your opportunities. I love the opportunities because they always tend to feel very actionable. And this was a pretty high value insight, was that it pulled that a keyword gap to target was beach wedding centerpiece. And this is a popular search. You have to have the raw materials to create ready-made centerpieces or centerpiece kits. And then it mentioned coastal water decor and beach house gifts, which were also pretty common. So these were really niche, adjacent keywords. Niche, these are really niche, and they're adjacent to our current listings that had unmet demand. So those are really high value. We did integrate, those keywords into the SEO of our listings, and that, of course, did help with the visibility of the listings, and it made sure that we also were able to analyze these competitor pages so that we knew what our own listings needed to look like to be more competitive. And this was really, really important. You can't overlook this. We also did a analysis on her customer reviews. You can do this on your top competitors' customer reviews as well. But if you head over into your shop stat, or rather your shop dashboard, you can head over into settings and you'll see an area to download your data. So we're here in the dashboard on the left hand panel. It's at the bottom. It's settings and then options, and then you'll see download data across the top here. It's this fourth little toggle or button, and then you will scroll down and you'll want to click on download your reviews. And that's going to give you your reviews.json files. It's really, really high value. It's one of my favorite things that you can do is just to pull out those files. You have a lot of customer reviews. It's super high value because you're able to pull out your customers' praise themes, what they love, what their pain points are. You can pull out their purchasing intents. What are they buying? Why are they buying it? What are they buying it for? What are their occasions, their target customers that they are gifting, their use cases? So we mentioned weddings, we saw home decorators, gifting and seasonal, and then we're also able to pull out core marketing points, recurring praise from those reviews. So that's super high value, and all that needs to go into the visual storytelling strategy for those listings. Now hang with me because I'm about to show one of those listings that we did work on that is currently doing really, really well to kind of show you what visual storytelling looks like. But now that we have these core marketing points pulled out from these customer reviews, we can integrate that within the visuals, especially that cover photo. So we kind of mentioned here, got ChatGPT again to help us out with, adding maybe a carefully hand-packed badge. It mentioned at the beginning of the title, you can mention delicate real coral. We can go down 100% real coral and seashells, mentioning different things to maybe mention on the cover photo, natural color variations. So it just gave us a lot of really high value marketing points. So we don't have to just use a cover photo. We want to make sure that all 10 of our listing images are used to communicate how our product essentially caters to these recurring praise themes, and how it also, how we're responding to pain points, just saying kind of how our products are better in terms of what customers typically don't like. So if you do ask ChatGPT to do this customer review sentiment analysis for you, just make sure you ask it to pull out the core marketing points that you should be including within your listings. And you can also ask it to tell you how to do that. Again, visuals is pretty much the most important space to incorporate any kind of marketing for your Etsy listings because they are so high visibility. But yeah, scrolling down a little bit more, it also mentioned that to lean into a pristine arrival guarantee. Customers do love guarantees on Etsy because Etsy technically does feel a little bit more risky than maybe like Amazon, because customers or sellers most of the time don't offer returns or exchanges. And then, these are small businesses that people are shopping from. So any kind of guarantee that you can offer can really, really, alleviate any perceived risk that they may assume your shop carries. So that was another thing that we ended up integrating as well. And there were just kind of a lot of points that ChatGPT was able to pull out for us. We definitely, want to make sure its analysis includes value propositions that our customers care the most about, so that all of that will lead the visual storytelling revamp strategy. The only other value gap that I did want to mention was that it also mentioned that offering rush orders was a pretty good opportunity for this market because of how tight wedding timelines can be. This tends to be an opportunity for a lot of markets. If you can introduce some kind of rush order fee, that's a pretty seamless way to immediately upsell customers, and especially customers who are shopping on a timeline or a deadline. Now, as promised, here is one of the best sellers that we're or top selling listings that we have in this shop. So you can kind of see what this revamped strategy has looked like. We can kind of see here that the visuals are very, very eye-catching. All this stuff is, it's always worth split testing and testing which visuals lead to the highest, again, click-through rate, engagement, conversion rate, but these are doing pretty well. So we're pretty happy with them. Natural seashell ring box, real shell with brass trim. We had seen that, seashell, I think ring box was like a really, really high visited keyword. So, we kind of made sure to exact match for that. And then you can kind of look at some of these next listing images that were created, and you can kind of get a feel for maybe how to aesthetically incorporate text overlays on your own images so that you can make sure your images are very clearly communicating how your products, again, meet those recurring praise themes that we were seeing. And you pretty much do have to use text overlays if you're trying to communicate all those different points that your customers care about. So I would just say to them, if that's not something you personally want to do, then it would definitely be worth outsourcing to a graphic designer. My team, we handle all of this for you. We handle the SEO as well. We'll handle price points and sales strategies. We'll handle all of the analyses, all of the research. So you essentially don't have to do anything other than have the listings for us to create. And we can do all those different data analyses for you. This is kind of like our bread and butter. We quite enjoy it. If you have an existing shop that your products deserve more traction than they have, which I'm sure that they they do. I'm 100% sure they do deserve a lot more views and engagement than they are getting. Then definitely just feel free to get in contact. I'd love to hop on a call. I'd love to, send over a custom roadmap for ideally turning things around for your shop or just getting things taking off for the first time ever. But yeah, I would love to be part of your journey. Our whole team here at OptiShop Solutions, and hopefully deliver a similar transformation for your shop as well. Looking over this other listing too, this is another listing that's doing pretty well in their shop. And then we can also see kind of how we wrote out the title. We can also look over the tags. You can scroll to the bottom of the listing to see the tags too. But with EverBee here, we can also see the stats for the keywords, and this kind of give you a good idea of what I meant earlier by showing you search volume and competition. We see some of the keywords in here are technically market gaps, decorating seashells, real sea fan, and we can see that the title was started with real sea fan. The cover photo is communicating more about that authenticity and the different customization that we offer. So it all, this is very, very much so customer aligned. So it's not surprising that these listings are doing well and that they're standing out side by side our competitors on Etsy. Now, I do want to show this right quick. This is the listing image plan. I do typically recommend this before you go into any kind of listing image creation, especially if you are outsourcing. You'll pretty much have to provide them with some actual instructions. So you can basically use ChatGPT to help you out with this. There are definitely some best practices here that my team would be integrating, but just in general, if you can ask ChatGPT to give you 10 listing images to make sure that the listing images incorporate the recurring praise themes that it was seeing, incorporates the pain points, the purchasing intents, the different target customers. You'd be surprised just kind of how much it'll do to make sure that those listing images that are crafted are really, really hitting the mark. Even if you maybe are not diving into the data that much personally, it'll do a lot of the deep diving for you. And then it'll also give you visual direction. So that's one thing my team handles too, is we'll handle like AI generative images, but you don't have to do that. If you did have a lot of your own really strong photos that you had taken, then of course you can use those, or you can plan some more photo shoots. There's a lot of visuals that you can create artificially that actually look real. So that's kind of the name of the game, is you want to make sure that the images do look real. And then you want to make sure they're professionally enhanced. So we use Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe Lightroom, and Adobe Photoshop. And those are typically, industry standard editing, but you can use a range of different tools, but just make sure that you are enhancing the texture on the images, you are enhancing contrast, and typically as needed, maybe upping the vibrance or saturation just a little bit. You can up the exposure as well. And all of that will help a little bit, which is making sure your images, as always, attract eyes. But play around with it. You might need to increase shadows or increase the bright spots or the whites. So really just, play around with the different tools and see what generally looks the best. And I would typically recommend using canva.com for the actual listing image templates. And again, once you have all of that data there in that business plan for you to use. Once you have these 10 listing images, you can pretty much reuse them a lot between the different listings that you have, but just swap in the actual product images for each listing. So we see that the first image was telling us to use a coastal inspired background, a clean, premium, bright aesthetic, natural seashell ring box, real shell with brass trim. Second image was full color options typically showcasing all your variations side by side, or different customization options. It's pretty much a best practice really early on your listing images. So typically your second listing image, if you can use that so that customers can really clearly see their different options, that tends to be a best practice. And again, you can artificially create that or create like a collage. Close up of your craftsmanship is also another typically best practice too, is if your products are really high quality, you want to make sure that's really, really clear from those product images. And a listing video will go a really long way here as well. So a 360-degree view of your product can also do a lot to showcase the quality of your product. Gift-ready packaging and shipping also deserves a slide of its own if it's going to elevate that perceived value of your product and gifting experience. A size and scale reference, multi-use lifestyle use case, real customer reviews highlight, an FAQ/buyer info slide, a satisfaction guarantee slide, and a final trust builder that breaks down a little bit about you and your brand. Again, to build trust. Those are all some really, really great slides to have. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching it down to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos. Don't forget to grab my free list of 10 expert tips to optimize your Etsy shop for maximum visibility and sales down below, as well as my Etsy Success Starter Kit if you'd like to do quite a bit of these things yourself. And as always, feel free to get in touch with me at optishopsolutions.com/contact. My team and I offer both strategy and implementation. So done for you shop revamps, setups, and optimizations, and we would love to get to know you. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye.